Hello, it's time for early African civilizations. We're looking at from 2000 BC into about 1500, although we won't get very far into that. 1500, the Arabs start moving in, everything changes. So Africa, by the way, is the second largest continent after Asia. Yes, they're bigger than North America. 5,000 miles long, surrounded by oceans, the Atlantic and Indian and seas, the Mediterranean and Red Sea. There are factors that affect their development of the African civilization are different zones. So that doesn't include the, force field or whatever that dome is around Wakanda. But there are mountains. Mountains are going to always affect geography. This is why nobody messes with Switzerland. On the Mediterranean Sea across from the southern Europe, we have the northern mountains. In the north central, there's large desert in the earth, the Sahara. You're going to end up seeing caravans and traders trying to go through that, but nobody wants to go through that. I mean, do you want to go down to Buckeye or Casa Grande, whatever, and take a bunch of hikes? No. You want pretty areas. The north central largest desert on Earth, by the way, is the Sahara. It's the largest. And then in the west central, we have the hump of Africa. These are grasslands in the interior, tropical jungle, think Congo, which is part of it. Congo's in the very middle. And also along the coast, these jungles. And by the way, we'll hopefully talk a little bit more about the Congo. People still don't go in there because it's hiding a whole lot of diseases in there. You try to go in and you die of something mysterious. In the east central, there's the snow-capped mountains, uplanded plateaus, lakes, the Great Rift Valley with mountains over the canyons and grasslands. I bless the brains down in Africa in the mountains in Kilimanjaro, and there you go. And in the south, there's the Congo Basin, dense vegetation, Congo River, and a rainforest. Woohoo! Then hills, plateaus, and deserts. So as I mentioned, it's bigger than North America, and it's going to have the same different regions as North America. We've got our mountainous regions. We have a desert. We have grasslands. We have, North America doesn't have jungles. We do have a rainforest, though. It's in Washington State and up into Canada. And we have mountains and plateaus, valleys, and river regions. There's everything. A continent this large is going to have a big variety. So this is going to affect the way different people live, just as you would have seen or will see in American history with the Native Americans who used to tribes. Why they're so different, it depends where they live and what the region around them is. So the Sahara covers 1/4 of Africa. As I mentioned, it's the largest desert in the world. Below that is the Sahel region with very little rainfall in harsh conditions. Phoenix. South of Sahel are vast savannas. That's where you're going to see the lions sleeping tonight and the dry grasslands with few trees. You'll see on TV people taking tours of the savannah. Then you have Central and Western Africa, which are tropical rainforests with a lot of rain. Vastly different regions. And further south are more savannas, then another desert, the Kalahari, and the Namib, and those are barren and desolate. So less population, not a lot of people want to live there. A few will end up there anyway. So climate zones, a mild climate zone in the north coast and southern tip of Africa, moderate rainfall, warm temperatures, and a fertile soil. Whereas the desert, the Sahara, this is Arizona, you know what a desert is. So once again, that's 40%. A rainforest along the equator. So that's 10% of the continent. Heavy rains, warm temperatures, dense forests, and home to disease-carrying insects. Because rainforests just have those. Next are the savannas. Yes, where you'll see the zebras and the lions and the omais. And cover 40%. These are small trees and bushes stretching across Africa north and south of the rainforest. It's adequate but unreliable rainfall. Adequate meaning this is not like Arizona, especially lately where our monsoon season, I think it rained twice. This is more Kansas, Nebraska area, if you want to compare it to North America. Dry, they do get enough rainfall to grow crops, and to keep their animals and humans alive. But it's not predictable. You don't know when you're subject to droughts. Can't guarantee your watering hole is going to have water, etc. So our civilizations that you need to know about. So we have, I know I say so a lot. Egypt, Kush, and Aksum are the big ones. Kush is about 2000 BC, and it was a trade center in Nubia. Nubians and Egyptians fought a lot. They had a lot of wars between them. They exported gold, ivory, ebony, frankincense, leopard skins to Egypt. Frankincense, by the way, is used in a lot of holy rituals. It's a very expensive essential oil. Egypt fought for control of Nubia a lot, and in the end they did end up controlling it several different times. About 1000 is when Nubia first became independent, and they became the kingdom of Kush. In 750 BC, Kush actually conquered Egypt and ruled for about 50 years. Then in 663 BC, the Bronze and Stone Ages, wielding Kushites. So we're not in the Iron Age, as you'll recall from Mesopotamia. That's going to come in a little bit. And it's going to take them longer because it's coming from north and diffusing to the south. Remember, culture diffusion takes a while sometimes. So the Kushites were conquered by the Assyrians. You remember the Assyrians from Mesopotamia? Woo! Yeah, they came down and conquered. Managed to get the Kush. Egypt's a little, However, Egyptians invade the Kushite capital in the city of Napata 80 years later, pushing the Assyrians out. Well, not all of them, but they conquered the area. And the Kush reorganizes, and this is a new period of growth and culture, because at least we got the Assyrians back out. I mean, it's bad enough we got the Egyptians. What are the people from the Middle East coming down to Nubia, and now they're messing with us too. So they managed to get them out. This allows culture and growth. It doesn't hurt that there's a lot of innovations coming from the north. And Meroe becomes a new capital city. And we've entered the Iron Age, which is one of the ways they managed to push the Assyrians out. Remember, Assyria fell because of the Iron Age. They didn't have these iron weapons like everybody else. And they become, change everything. This is the example of the temples. In Kush, remember, this is the southern Nile, by the way. Oh, I didn't tell you that. Nubia's in the southern area of the Nile. It still has the Nile coming through it. This is Naga. Once again, they're obvious neighbors of the Egyptians and have been under Egyptian control. You'll see the similarities in architecture. Well, this fertile soil leads to agricultural developments. And the Meroean people built pyramids, temples, crafted pottery, and metal ornaments. They develop a written form of language, and on a caravan route between the Red Sea and the Nile River, they bring cultural influences. Once again, Egypt, as the largest, most sustainable kingdom in the area, is going to influence everybody else, especially when they're your best trade partners. Kush does remain a major trading empire, being between Egypt and all these other lands, and they start exporting their iron goods as they've become pretty good at this iron thing. And they reach their height of civilization between 250 and 150 BC. We are now into Rome, so Rome's causing problems. They're having a fight with Carthage up north, but that's a little bit further to the west. They had a mostly urban society. These are not farmers. They have large cities with walls. Presence of luxury goods and tombs indicates a widespread prosperity and a large merchant class. So they are being buried in tombs, similar to the Egyptians, And archaeologists have found a lot of goods, and they're saying, these guys, yeah, at one point, they were a lot of wealthy people here. And land fertility, however, caused an invasion by the Axum civilization, because if you've got a nice piece of land there, more people want it. Come on, it took us how long to take it to really populate Arizona? It didn't become a state until 1914 because nobody wanted to live there until the AC was invented the government brought people in the 60s, and then the AC was invented as a result. Here are some of their artifacts. Once again, a heavy Egyptian influence. Written language, one of the pillars of civilizations. These are the Kush. They are the people who lived in Nubia. They're not the only civilization in Nubia, but you're going to have to go. That's an upper college class. And then we're looking at Axum. The Axum moved into Nubia. They also had their own land. They're founded as an Arab colony, so we're going to skip them because they're actually not ancient. They're Middle Age. We'll get back to them later. Okay, so we're skipping them because they're actually not ancient. They're more that once the Arabs come in, we're looking at a whole new situation. We're into medieval Europe. We're in a whole different eon here. So West African kingdoms you need to know are Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. These wealths depend on controlling trade routes across the Sahara Desert. So they've been set up and established more because of the trade. Remember, trade's one of the big things that influence history. So the other southern edge of the Sahara, there are gold mines. This is why we've got people there. So not great places to live, but we've got a valuable commodity in that area, and somebody needs to pull it out. So if you've got this great, item everybody wants, they're going to bring you the food and the water and etc. so forth in trade exchange for what they want. And along with gold, they have salt. Salt was huge. It's still huge. Think about it. You all have salt in your kitchen at home. It's a necessary spice. So gold production is going to do well here until about 1500. Once again, we won't even worry about the year 1500. That's the Renaissance. We'll talk about all of that later. They were monarchical governments, autocracies, kingdoms, and it was your basic setup. King and priest at top, merchants, peasants, and then the slaves at the bottom. So below officials came merchants, then farmers, fisher and cattle breeders, and slaves are always at the bottom. So that's the Songhai architecture, West African gold nuggets. Here's their areas, more gold nuggets. Those are not even processed gold. Down here it is. There's processed gold in there too. Next, Ghana. They're going to be the central kingdom of the West African area, merged about 300. Established by the Sononite people, located in the upper Niger River Valley and grasslands. It should be noted that they established about the time that Carthage went kapoosh. They got salted by the traditional belief by the Romans. That's what the Romans claim, at least, is that they salted the land. People now say, no, the land always sucked up there, but once again, we don't have a primary sources to know who's right. They're located in the upper Niger River Valley, the grasslands. They used iron for farming tools. They had an agricultural economy, meaning they do take care of their own food and water, which they can in that area. They're kings. They are a monarchy. They have powerful kings, wealthy, well-traded armies, and they actually governed without laws, as far as we know. We've seen no evidence of written law. Once again, without a firm written language that we can translate, really we're dependent on what their neighbors said about them, the people their trading partners said. They did import salt, textiles, and horses, so they're giving food and water in exchange for the salt. Traded across the Sahara Desert with the Berbers on a camel caravan, and these are called fleets of the desert. Berbers, by the way, are the traditional barbarians. They're more nomadic, rough and tumble peoples. Their kings do act in the Ghanaian as war leaders, which is why another belief they didn't have any written laws, and they negotiated the trade with foreigners. These large armies would conquer a lot of territories. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot about the people they conquered. They reached their peak about the year 1050, and the most notable of their kings is Tankamanen, and he was 1067. So this is about the same point that William the Conqueror's taking over England, just for a perspective of what's happening in the rest of the world. So we're in the High Middle Ages. Over in Europe, he commanded an army of 200,000 using bows, arrows, and iron spears. But once again, if you look further north, they're starting to decline in Africa, still using the same weapons they've been using for hundreds of years. And further north, we're about to have the Crusades, which will encourage the development of new weapons and technologies. So they're not keeping up with what's happening to the north. So in about the 100s, they begin to decline. Doesn't help that Rome's off conquering everybody. But in 1076, the Berbers invade them. They destroy the city of Kumi Saleh, and they lose control of the salt trade. In 1235, then Molenke overthrows Ghana and establishes the Empire of Mali. But once again, we're into the High Middle Ages, so we'll discuss that later. Here are the remnants of the people. You can still, once again, see their buildings they're ancient buildings. Ancient texts, mostly written by the neighbors, which is why we know what happened to them. So Mali, as I mentioned, we will skip because they are not ancient. So that is it for ancient Africa. We will pick up with them about the time the Arabs invade. You're going to see them becoming a great kingdom again. We'll discuss Timbuktu and other centers of learning that are going to come about in Africa. They said they were declining, but with the Arabs taking over, and at this point, as during the Middle Ages, you see Europe being controlled by a religious institution that discourages learning. The Arabs, on the other hand, love learning, so we're going to get back to these guys. But that's all we have for the ancient ones. I wish it was more, but without a lot of written language, there's not a lot of records, and it's supposition, and I'll let you research supposition.